Mike Rodak, our buddy who covers the Buffalo Bills better than anyone else. And Mike, as Tyrod Taylor was named the starter today, how surprised were you?
I wasn't too surprised with that decision. I think given the way he played Saturday, I mean, it led him on an 80-yard touchdown drive, a 78-yard touchdown drive, missed one or two passes for the entire game. And over the course of the preseason was sharp, really not only as a runner but also a passer. I think once that happened, once I saw him Saturday, my personal decision swayed away from Matt Castle. A couple weeks ago, I would have said Castle because I think he was a safer bet. But I think Tyrod had shown enough to give the Bills confidence in really making his first career start now against the Colts here. So the other factor there I think you have to consider is, Rex Ryan's not going to go with the safe bet. He's going to roll the dice. He's going to go with the guy who, in this case, hasn't started the game before. He's a runner. He's going to be a little bit more erratic, maybe more of an interception risk, maybe more of a fumble risk. But that's the style Rex has. He's going to roll the dice. So in that sense, it didn't really surprise me too much.
Now, Mike, you're getting to know Rex as this is your first full year covering him. Looking back at it now, does it feel like he had always kind of committed himself to this dual threat Tyrod Taylor, like he always kind of wanted him to be his guy?
Oh, yeah. I think once go back to last year, he tried to trade for him with the Jets, and now this year obviously brought him in as a free agent. I think the plan all along in Rex's mind was if he could get Tyrod to a point where he was comfortable starting him, I think that was the way Rex wanted to go. Obviously, Castle is a pretty good insurance policy. He's a much more experienced player, probably less. You really know what you're getting with Matt Castle on each play. But we saw a lot of Tyrod with the first team in training camp, and a lot of him obviously started the second preseason game and played with the first team on Saturday. So Rex was going to give him a fair shot, which, obviously never really got in Baltimore because of Flacco. And I think Rex is sort of the guy you might think, hey, I found somebody here. And he mentioned it today. He mentioned that he had more rushing yards than Michael Vick at Virginia Tech. I mean, that's the sort of stat that, Rex is probably sitting there and really thinking about, how can I find a quarterback where somebody else may not be looking? And I think he all along had a sense of, hey, this could be my guy, could be my starter here in Buffalo.
ESPN's Mike Rodak, at Mike Rodak on Twitter. Tyrod Taylor named the starting quarterback in Buffalo. How short of a leash is Tyrod Taylor on when you have a guy like Matt Castle right behind him?
I think it would really take a disaster for Tyrod Taylor to be benched after one or two games. But with that said, I don't think you want to go, you have two tough games to start. You have New England, you have Indianapolis, and you're down on the road in week 3, division opponent against Miami. So if you go 1-2, 0-3, I think you really have to consider making a change, depending how those games go. But I wouldn't expect them, to be benched after a game. This isn't a per-game decision. The way Rex put it today was that he named Tyrod Taylor a starter for the regular season. So, again, it's not a game-by-game thing, but things can change so quickly in the NFL anyway. And if we're talking an 0-3 team or 1-4 team at some point here, then, I think that making a change is definitely possible.
Mike, what does this all mean for E.J. Manuel?
E.J. Manuel, that guy.
I mean, about him.
He's an afterthought at this point. He's an afterthought, right?
It's weird.
So that's the way it goes. That's the NFL. That's how quickly things change. That's Fred Jackson. I mean, it was 2 years ago. He was your first-round pick, and now does he make the roster? That's still up for debate. I mean, Rex maintained really through last week and up until this week that he wants to keep 3 quarterbacks, but he never really said if he meant 2 quarterbacks on the 53 and 1 on the practice squad or 3 quarterbacks on the 53. So that really opened up questions as to whether EJ has a future here. And, of course, there's a report today from Ian Rappaport at the NFL Network that either Castle or Manuel may not make it. So the Bills will have a decision to make there if that's indeed their intention. You can cut Castle and save $4 million, which would help them against the cap. Or you can cut E.J. Manuel, who's probably – I would feel less comfortable starting E.J. Manuel if he was my backup than I would Matt Castle. You can cut E.J. Manuel. You're not going to save anything against the cap. So the other possibility to consider there is a trade. The Bills could try to dangle him. Whatever team will take him on will be taking on a guaranteed salary, which is not going to help what you're going to get in return. But I would say by the end of this week, there's a strong possibility that one of those two quarterbacks are not on the team anymore.
ESPN's Mike Rodak out of Buffalo. You hinted at the news that running back Fred Jackson has been released by the Bills this morning. Is he really that much worse than the other four bodies that they have at running back?
No, he's not worse at all. It was a shocking move for me. I mean, go back to the spring, and there's definitely some speculation about him potentially being released, and I would agree with that decision back then. But that really would have required Fred Jackson to decline at some point in the summer, and it would require the other three guys, Bryce Brown, Carlos Williams, and Boobie Dixon, to get better, to really show themselves as being better than Fred Jackson. If that was the case, then I would have said, make the business decision, don't let the emotion play into it and cut Fred Jackson. But I just don't feel like that's the case right now. I feel like Fred Jackson is your clear-cut number 2 running back. He played better than all three of those other guys throughout training camp, and obviously he was injured for 2 weeks. So were the other guys. Comes out Saturday as a 41-yard run, his first carry. I mean, he still got it. And the salary cap part of it, I mean, you're saving $2.5 million. I don't think that's not going to make or break a Marcel Darius contract next year. It's not going to make or break a Nigel Bradham or Cordy Glenn contract next year when you carry that space over. So I don't think the salary cap part of it really should have played too much into it, but just reading between the lines with Rex Ryan and Doug Whaley today, it seems like it did.
Has Fred Jackson spoke at all yet?
He hasn't. He hasn't spoken to anybody yet. So, he's spoken to players about Fred Jackson, and it really seemed like he was processing it and trying to figure out what his next move is. And whether that's retirement, I don't think it will be. I think he still believes he has a couple years left. And it could be going to a different team. The Patriots, I think, would be the number 1 team to watch. That's Bill Belichick loves that guy. And they could probably use a running back. I mean, you have LeGarrette Blount out for week 1, suspended. You don't have Shane Vereen anymore. You could probably use one more guy back there. And if you can get Fred Jackson at a low price, which you probably can, he's already got a low price with the Bills, then I think the Patriots are a pretty good spot for him.
Oh, heart's breaking all over Buffalo.
That would sting for Bills fans.
Yeah.
That would be a knife in the back of Bills fans, and Rex is not going to win any people over if that happens.
Well, no, and he would lose more weight because he would throw up if that happened. ESPN's Mike Rodak with Armen and Levack out of Buffalo.
Mike, can we expect any other, are you seeing any more shocking potential cuts?
No, I think the quarterback situation is probably still the one to watch. As far as backup quarterbacks between EJ and Castle, if one of those guys gets cut, then at this point I'm not even sure if that would be shocking. But elsewhere on the roster now, I mean, that's pretty much where we're at. There's really nobody who really stands out to this point as being potential shock to cut.
He's Mike Rodak at Mike Rodak on Twitter. Has your Bills news. The crazy day out in Buffalo. He's all over it at ESPN.com. Mike, thanks so much for your time today, man. Appreciate you as always.
Thanks, guys.